guys, it's Monica with you here. Today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the open day. Because we are in Romania and Qatar Airways held an open day yesterday in Bucharest, we thought we'll pay the candidates a visit and see how the day is going and just kind of remember how it all felt more than a decade ago when I applied and I went to an open day myself. So we went to the event. It was really good to see all the candidates being nervous and scared and didn't know what to expect and waiting for the recruiters to come early in the morning, and we were talking to them for a little bit and how they feel, and again we remembered how I felt during my open day. And we thought we'll give you a little bit of an insight, especially for those of you that have never attended an open day or an assessment day with one of the major airlines. So we got there early in the morning. We were there, the starting time was 9 o'clock. We were there at about 8:20, I think. And it was really good to see a lot of the candidates already there. To our surprise, despite everything, all the information that you can find online, despite Qatar Airways clearly mentioning on the website that the starting time is 9 sharp, which really means that candidates have to be there a bit earlier to make sure they don't miss the start. So despite that, a lot of candidates were still showing up at 9:20, 10, 11, 1 o'clock, thinking that it's an open day and it's just a CV drop-off and you can basically show up whenever you want. Now the downside of that is there are two aspects to that. One, if you miss the start of the day, actually the recruiters, the two of them that were there, gave a full brief for the day, so explained how the day is going to go, who is going to be accepted, how will you know that you're going to be accepted to continue for the assessment, and so on. So if you've missed that, now you have to ask everybody around how the day is going. That's one downside. The second downside is if you can't be bothered to show up at 9 a.m. thinking that you're going to have too long of a day and you're going to be too tired, are you really cut for this job? Do you really think you can face the challenges and the demands of the profession? You got to remember that it's a very subjective thing. Recruitment is very subjective and sometimes you're at the whims of the recruiter, but that doesn't change the fact that you have to be on your toes all the time. So prepare for the interview, make sure you show up properly dressed. Again, one of the things that we noticed quite predominantly was that despite the fact that on the Qatar Airways website, forget the other websites where you find information, including ours, where you get all the details on how to present yourself, how to carry yourself, what attire should you be wearing, how to make your CV and photos and all that, there are still so many candidates that show up completely inappropriately dressed. Okay, if you get accepted, that's fine, but still I think it's very inappropriate for an interview. So always be on your toes, prepare thoroughly for the interview to make sure you're ready for it, show up on time, and really do your best. You might see people that get accepted although they're falling short in fulfilling the requirements of the airlines. We really don't want you guys to be beaten down by those examples or to follow them, or to think you should change your levels of professionalism and your dedication to being really the best you can be. Now what's happening nowadays, what happened yesterday, is the candidates would go in with their CV and their passport photo, which they had to leave with the recruiter. They would give you everything else back from the documents that they ask you to take along. So they would keep your CV, they would look through it for, I think the most that one of the candidates said she spent with the recruiters was 2 minutes, but it's generally 30 seconds or a minute, and that in that 1 minute the recruiter can tell anything about a candidate based on what you're saying, how your CV looks. And I keep saying this on all the videos that we're making. A recruiter will be able to tell a whole lot of things about you based on the way you walk into the room, your outfit, the way you present yourself, how nervous are you or how confident are you, how is your CV structured, how detailed are your pictures, did you pay attention to taking them, and so on. And then they ask you a question or two. And the most common question yesterday, there were basic questions: how old are you, what are you doing nowadays, what's your job, and so on. They wouldn't go into detail because they saw so many candidates, but the most common question that came up for all the candidates was, why do you want to become a cabin crew? Such a basic question, right? And everybody's asking us during the webinars and in our group and everywhere. Everybody's asking, what do you say to such a question? Why do you want to become cabin crew? And everybody has to work their motivation into that and has to tell a story and has to make it inspiring, because simply saying, and those are a lot of the answers that we heard were quite surprising to me, again, because the internet is so full of resources that all you got to do is find your trustworthy source and make sure that who you get your information from is really knowledgeable of the industry and knows how to guide you right. Despite the fact that that's all available online, some people still go and say, I want to become a cabin crew because I want to travel, because I want to meet new people. One of the answers we heard was because I have a friend that works as a cabin crew and she told me it's super nice. And it's like, okay, that's all good, but what they're really asking you is, why should we take you over the other 250 candidates that were there yesterday? Now I want you to consider something, guys. Think of it this way. When you all finished high school, right? Because it's a requirement to apply as a cabin crew to finish high school. When you do your final exam at high school, how long in advance do you prepare for that exam? Do you just sit there? You've been 4 years through high school, right? And you've been studying on and off or whatever, heard about this information and that information, breezed through high school, whatever. You get to your final exam and this is crunch time. So you have, it's a life-changing time, right? Because if you don't pass your final exam, then you're going to be stuck. You can't really move on to get a decent career. So the same way, your cabin crew application, the open day or the assessment day, is a very defining moment for you. It's not a matter of trying over and over again. Now, luckily, some of the airlines don't make you wait for 6 months, but a lot of them do. So if you insist, for example, to work for Emirates or Etihad, if you failed, now you have to wait 6 months. 2 failure, 1 year of your life is gone. So what I'm trying to say is, it's a life-defining moment. You don't want to be preparing for it 1 or 2 days in advance. It's not going to stick. Think about it. If you study for an exam 1 day in advance, there's so much information, or 2 days or 3 days or however many days in advance, that's really just before the event. If you're gonna get so much information in 2-3 days, and now you have this one moment that is usually, as I said earlier, from anywhere from 30 seconds to up to 2 minutes if you're lucky to have 2 minutes with the recruiters. It's up to this moment to either make or break your success. If you're gonna give yourself just 1, 2, 3, 4 days before the event, do you really think it's gonna stick? Do you really think it's gonna make you confident enough and it's gonna help you internalize the correct mindset to have, so during your interview you can deliver exactly the way you're expected to deliver, so the recruiter seeing you a real asset? My guess is you won't be happening. It won't be happening, and we've seen it. It's not just me making assumptions. We've seen it happen. If you look in our recruitment calendar, every single weekend and throughout the months, every single month, there are, in a weekend, we were actually looking yesterday, this weekend have been 20 to 25 recruitment drives around the world, run by Emirates, Etihad and Qatar Airways. So massive recruitment drives with literally hundreds of thousands of applicants going to these interviews. And there are agencies around the world giving seminars and teaching you stuff 2-3 days in advance. And again, we're not saying anything bad about it. A lot of these people giving seminars are genuine aviation professionals. Most are not. So that's a huge downside to it. But even so, it doesn't help. And that's information received from candidates. It doesn't help. When you're preparing for an exam that's super important, you can't do that 1 day in advance. You're not going to be able to pass your exam. And this is exactly what this open day or the assessment day is, an exam. Now think of other examples, people that are successful. Do you think of Tiger Woods, for example? Do you think he's just preparing for his tournament 1 day or 1 week before the tournament, or is he just sitting there day in and day out hitting balls so that one day when he has the tournament, the one ball that he hits and makes him #1 in the world, is it's a strike of luck, or it's fate. It's really just, yes, talent has its part in everything, and we all have different talents that we can contribute, but preparation, effort, if you don't meet talent with effort, you can't. You have to strike millions of the same ball to make sure that that one hit is the successful one, not the lucky one, which is what a lot of you are expecting, the lucky strike, to get past that interview. So you gotta remember that, and that's the reason why the fact that we've put the platinum package online and it's valid for 1 month is not compulsory. We've really looked into this, and we've studied the options and understood exactly what is best to give candidates and in what way to deliver it. Because 1 month is an extensive period of time for you to go through it every time, every day if you want, 3-4 times a day if you want, and really internalize it. And I'll tell you something else. During my assignment as a cabin crew manager, I wrote manuals. I wrote them myself. And 3, 4, 5 months, a year after I wrote them, I would go back and read them again. And you know what? I wrote them. I would still find things that I thought, I don't even remember writing this. In manuals that I didn't write, in my manual, for example, at Qatar Airways, which is a very thick manual, the safety one, I would read it again and again and again, and every single time I would find things I couldn't remember reading the first time. So this is how you internalize information. You give yourself time, you go through it again and again and again. You do it with reliable sources, and you make sure to practice everything and understand what is required of you. Remember the million balls you have to hit before you get that one chance to change your life? That's what matters. So you gotta get the same attitude of a winner athlete if you really want to make it through this day. It's an exam. If you think it's just a time when you're walking into a room with 2 people, random people, just looking at a paper that you wrote, it's not. It's so much more to it. It is an exam, it's defining, and you want this lifestyle, right? It's a life-changing event for you, and you should treat it accordingly. And that's why we've taken the time and we've put the effort into delivering a complete resource that gives you everything. Okay, it's in video format, so you can listen to it 1,000,000 times during the month that is valid for you to access. You can read text if you're happier with that. The group is available for you, so you can watch it multiple times. Our Facebook group is available for you. Whoever is member with us, they know that they can reach us anytime. Now we're taking it a step further and we're organizing the Hangout, so really the resources are there. If you continue to fail, okay, sometimes it's bad luck, but you can pass first time. And people that were there yesterday, many of them that passed were there for the first time. It was their first open day. So they must be doing something right. And you have to understand what they're doing right. And this is what we're teaching you.